Hey, everyone, my name is Hal. I'm talking about, composable micro generators. Basically, trying to use code reuse to deal with some of the pain points of like starting off new projects and make things easier. I guess a lot of it is maybe an idea, but there's also a sort of implementation thing that I wish was more ready than it was, but have a look at that at the end if I can move really quickly. So and then this is it done. So let's go. So what's the problem? JavaScript fatigue. I feel a bit horrible saying it's such a cliche, but so what kind of led to that? Like small modules are something that's very baked into the Node JavaScript communities. Some people don't think that's a good thing. I'm a fan of that approach for a number. I'll go into that. On the other hand, like in the past, 4-5 years or whatever, like a couple of big monolithic type frameworks became quite popular. And then along came React. React wasn't necessarily about like bringing people back to like that kind of approach, but it's I think it sort of had that effect. I mean, you look at this compared to some of the descriptions of other framework, like just the fact that these other things are frameworks and React described as a library. When it came out at the time, a lot of people were like, well, there's my UI, but like, how do I'm used to having this framework deal with everything for me. I think having that limited scope, just to the hypothesis, sort of pushed people back into like thinking about using different tools, different modules to deal with other problems in the stack. Along comes Flux, and that's the kind of Facebook sort of way, or just like an architecture. There's no implementation. Here's how you should probably deal with state management. Then comes Redux. Then all Flux implementations apart from Redux die. Then comes WetPad, and then Browserify dies, and it goes on and on. And I mean, one of the advantages of small modular, I think, is that like in that kind of rapidly changing sort of environment, if you have this philosophy, then if you're using Angular or something, and Angular people just said, we don't feel like doing Angular anymore, you're in a bit of trouble. It's gonna take a while to migrate to something else. Whereas, I guess we sometimes use financial metaphors like technical debt and stuff to talk about things. I think if you have small modules, you've got a kind of diverse portfolio of dependencies. You're taking lots of smaller bets rather than one big bet, and if one of them doesn't even necessarily have to not come off, but if something better comes down the path line, then it's easy for you to swap that out with something else. And I think that's a really valuable thing that we shouldn't try and get away with. But JavaScript fatigue happens. So there's something that kind of built up, seemingly people, and then sort of exploded around the end of last year. There was like a post, got a lot of attention on Medium, and there was another less coherent post called Web Development Sucks. Had a lot of complaints. Some of them had validity, and they were, in my opinion, mainly revolving around the amount of time required for configuration, setting up a new project.
For us that didn't read them, what were like some of the sensible ones? Sorry, what were some of the sensible ones for us that didn't read these? Like I didn't see these.
Oh, okay.
What's that?
Well, the first one was quite sensible. The second one was just a rant. Like it was anonymous at first, and then like it went viral, and yeah, it was just like this is shit, this is that shit and stuff. Like but it, like at the same time there was this thing going on. And, yeah, but like look it up, pull up by like yeah. So yeah, and I think in a small tool environment, that's a valid thing. Especially, I mean, like I think everyone here has dealt with it. Even Webpack engineers can. Yeah, Webpack is something that has a lot of configuration, and it can be really hard for beginners to get that right or feel overwhelmed and stuff. So it's not really a problem that's kind of properly solved yet. Anyway, a lot of people agreed with this take, and like just people lost their stuff. I forgot a lot of gifts. So yeah, there are two kinds of people in the world. There are lots of two kinds of people, but two kind of people is those who, wow, they see something new and shiny and they're like, great, that's cool. The other type, a new JavaScript library comes out and it's like, oh my god, this, no thanks. So I guess a lot of people here might be in the former camp, but they aren't really mutually exclusive groups. I mean, I think we all felt, speaking to people, a little bit overwhelmed sometimes by putting things together in the modern kind of stack. On the other side of things, I think there's a kind of the other side of it being a problem. There's this unrealized potential from some tools, and I guess for me that's like code that writes code, generates code, and that can be a very broad thing. I mean, benefits. Yeah, you make people more productive. Less boilerplate, which you shouldn't have to write. Probably not employ less developers, but allows developers to concentrate on the business logic rather than just churning through boring stuff. If code generation is a problem, why isn't it sort of taking? How can we get people to sort of go for this approach? And I mean, yeah, I think a big part of it is being able to properly share code that writes code, and we'll come back to that a lot, I guess. Because I mean, Yeoman is a big, the elephant in the room, but I feel the way it does that, it doesn't do it in a shareable, in a composable way. Someone writes a generator, you either use it or you go, oh, this sucks, you move on, or you try and tweak it, and it's not that easy to kind of to make it do what you want. Whereas on the other hand, again, we'll probably come back to this same point, but like if you have a lot of smaller components, there's a kind of self-reinforcing thing that like you can use them, anyone can use them to build up bigger, more complex things that are more powerful, easily encourage people to contribute more to that sort of ecosystem, if you will, and share these kind of, I call them components or tasks or whatever they say. Yeah, as they go along. And that's a kind of virtuous feedback circle, in my opinion. But moving on. So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of history. It's like hardly code that write codes is not we had like a talk about compilers earlier on, and yeah, at the time when however the language like Fortran or C came out, like you know, a compiler was seen as like a kind of higher level metaprogramming tool, and yeah, it is from a certain perspective. I mean, like it's basically taking a human-friendly language and punching out, you know, something that a machine can read that you would never want to deal with. It's sort of, yeah, invisible today, but like they can be pretty sophisticated, doing optimizations that you would never want to think about, at least as JavaScript programmers. Some people love that sort of thing. Yeah. Also was thought to be way back then important to development of AI, but that's neither here or there. So like a couple of things like template metaprogramming, compile time sort of technique, uses templates to generate source code. I guess the main sort of the most visible sort of thing of that surviving is like generic functions in C++, where you write something that can take any sort of type or almost any type, and at compile time, as I understand it, the compiler generates a bunch of different files and stuff, which is not always great because there's code bloat and stuff. Anyway, another big thing was mentioned earlier today, macros. Again, a compile time expansion of source code. Except it doesn't involve using like a template to generate a bunch of different files. They range from like very simple, like if anyone's C programming, you have the C processor, and you can use that to just like rewrite variables. It's basically that sort of stuff. It's just text manipulation, and it's very easy. If you try and do something complex, you can run into stuff called variable capture, which you know can get totally wrong. They're in the terminology non-hygienic, extremely much. Anyway, so that's. But then again, list-style macros, which was something that was kind of exclusive to Lisp, but moving into a few other languages, I guess. Much more sophisticated, mainly because you can, instead of just like taking some text and not knowing what it means and manipulating it, you're treating the macro with processing with the full Lisp language available to it, available to you. So what's the difference? What makes that possible? Something called homoions. Yeah, that one. Yeah, and that basically means if you have a language whose syntax, I don't know if Google this again, but like from memory, like a language whose syntax is similar to and the data structures that it uses. So I mean, Lisp is like Lisp syntax is a series of Lisp. It's like the most simple syntax you can get, pretty much, except maybe 4 or something. And Lisp itself is a Lisp processing language. I think maybe a good way for like us to relate to it is like imagine that like your JavaScript source code was basically written in JSON. So like you might have like function arguments, and you can just require that in as like a data structure, and it's pretty easy to see how how easy it would be to like completely change the way a program works before you run it, without having to go to like a parser to an abstract syntax tree or anything. So that's kind of a similar thing, and some languages do that nowadays. So yeah, I guess the most well-known approaches at the moment to like scaffolding out new projects. Yeoman, again, it's like there's also something called Slush, which is basically like Yeoman, but it's built around Gulp and Gulp tools, a few in particular. So if you feel more comfortable with that, you might like that more, but I don't think it's really essentially that different. Same sort of thing. The other approach is like code boilerplate. Generally, a Git repository that sort of has a skeleton structure of an application. Can be more sophisticated, like have some options to customize sort of on the fly and stuff like Yeoman. Generally, sort of whoever's writing it is like making sure that it still works, still makes sense, and at least you can start from there and add your own sort of business logic to that. So it's not maybe a great solution, but I think it's okay. There's some problem. I mean, like, we'll come back to that maybe later. Or NPM modules, similar idea. But I guess you generally have a little more power because you can always pull something that you want out of an NPM package, like rather than sort of like Git repo, just installs at root. Generally, as you use submodules or something, and you can compose modules within one another. Okay, so coming to Yeoman, which is like the big one, inspired by Rails generators. If anyone used to do Rails, I guess it seems kind of familiar. Again, a bit weird, just like people in Rails tend to frown on the use of generators, but and for most people, that's where this sort of thing begins and ends. What else? It consists of a command line package, self-defined, install generators on your system, so that's important. And it's very inheritance-based. You have this generator-based class, and you inherit from that. And I do feel like that kind of the architectural choices that were made at the time make it very hard to change to a more composable style. Probably skip this. It has this run loop thing, like initialize, prompt, these various things. And that was something that was actually introduced to try and make Yeoman generators more composable. That for like a couple of years now, like if you look at the Yeoman kind of repository follow issues and stuff, it's the roadmap or whatever, like there was something people recognized was a problem or an opportunity. Going back to January 2014, there was this kind of burst of activity. That was, and that sounds a kind of familiar thing, like, let's kill JavaScript fatigue before it happens. So going back a while, not much has happened since then, and I get the feeling that it's sort of not much will happen. People don't seem that interested in it. I could be wrong, but so composability in Yeoman. Generators can be written to use other generators. In practice, it's not that much done, probably because people just aren't aware of it. That whole queue system was introduced to facilitate composability. But again, yeah, nothing much seems to have happened. As an example, I think we probably don't have time to move on. But generally, Yeoman, in my opinion, where it falls short of like, because I mean, it sounds fantastic. Like, I mean, one, there's the discovery problem of like you download a generator, you try it, you don't like it, you do another one, maybe you try and change it to make something that suits you, and that's not that much fun. Same thing. Yeah, it takes a bit to get into the kind of customization. You've got to read through a bit of documentation, in my opinion. Yeah, okay. There's a couple of interesting alternative solutions that have come on. One's called Pacta, not very well known, and it just takes a very different approach. It's all about sort of automation. It's about having something that runs in the background, a process, and the idea is that you write code and basically it watches file changes. It's plugin based, and yeah, as it goes, like if you add like a module that isn't in your package JSON, it's crazy. It will be smart enough to like current plugins, install dependencies, find ES6 syntax, and add stable transpilation, including finding the right plugins, text React, and add a lot of stuff. So it's a really, we go into the how, we again probably don't have time. If you can read quickly, then that's good. Yeah, we don't have that. Yeah, I think it's really great because it's like different to what anyone else seems to be doing. It has the function of the plugin thing, so you can change it a lot. Interesting idea. It's, as the author would say, it's still an alpha stage, so commit your code before you start running and it starts changing your stuff. The other thing is Plop, I guess, is probably the biggest thing, and it builds itself as a micro-generator framework. It's mostly built around prompts and templates, specifically built around handlebars and Inquirer. And it's sort of all about, building, customizing prompts and templates as responses, has a concept of a thing called actions. It was, again, you read the project goals, they didn't like Yeoman and they want to make up for a lot of the kind of composable, sort of shareable issues from that. We were emphasizing small generators, designed to be repeatedly usable. That's interesting. I mean, like, Yeoman is something you run at the beginning of a project, it sets stuff up, and you can have sub-generators to like add a root or something, but it's mostly kind of good for that, or used for that. And Plop, on the other hand, Plop is, it's like, the goal is that like, if you have to add a new route to like an Express app or something, you will write something that will just make that a simple command to like take care of the boilerplate and stuff. And that's designed to be relatively easy to do. Your generators live inside your code base. You can commit them into your repository and like, the events of source control, see how they've changed. So, I don't know, but I sort of think we could do a new code generator. Probably won't save the world, but like, I don't know. If I was to start again, like, yeah, it's more or less what I want. I don't know if anyone else wants it, but like, general properties, a declarative style. It's like easy to read, easy to understand. It's sort of, I guess, like reading React JSX. It's very easy to see, like, you know, parents, children, siblings, stuff like that, which is good. Most users should be simple to use for like end users. Should be simple to develop for if someone wants to add their own thing or tweak something. Composable is a huge thing. This is more or less repeat of the other thing, but like, yeah, I think it's once you have that, any ecosystem that might develop becomes self-reinforcing. On the other hand, if everything's nothing can be composable, then you get another package generator developed, and it's just another generator. You can't really use it to build something else. It doesn't add as much value. Yeah. Other ideas that I thought were important. The idea that architecture is more important than implementation, I guess, is something you see in sort of Flux and Redux and stuff. So just like a simple implementation, and the way of doing things is more important. Comes down. A lot of that was reinforced. There's a recent article by a guy, Andre Stoltz, who developed CycleJS called Everywhereness. Basic idea is that, like, if you have an overriding paradigm that you use everywhere, even when it's not convenient, there can be a lot of benefits to that rather than diverging when it's simpler to do so. So if we enforce that convention, then we can usually get certain benefits. I mean, the examples he used was like stuff like Flux and Redux. I mean, Redux makes you write everything as a pure function. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it's like, I can follow this. I think, you know, this is okay. But when you have that guarantee that everything is a pure function, then it enables stuff like time travel, debugging, stepping backwards and forwards through code. Like if someone broke that somewhere, like adding mutations and stuff, then yeah, you don't necessarily have that sort of thing. Some other goals were to like keep as much logic as possible outside the main thing, make most things as easy as possible, which is a pretty good piece of advice. Didn't want to utilize existing tools, I guess, would be one of them. Basically, embracing 3 programming virtues: arrogance, yeah, I could do this, yeah. Ignorance, probably pretty easy. Laziness, I'm tired of writing lots and lots of boilerplate and stuff, so yeah, I like that. So I guess what I kind of came up with, I called Kaiju. Part of it is inspired by working on a tiny little bit with this thing called the Cloverfield project that Nick Butenko and Eric Elliott sort of started. The other thing was Pacific Rim was on TV one night, and I was like, yeah, this movie's great. I'll fix the name later. I never did. But it's a monster thing. Yeah. Okay, I guess so. One of the big ideas, I'll try and get out of here. Yeah, tasks would be observables. That's kind of the central idea, I guess, of Kaiju. And I know that for a lot of people who don't care or know about observables and rather see something in like pure JavaScript, that's going to be like, you know, no thanks. But oh well. Why? Mostly because of the because I really like the article on everywhereness. Using observables makes mixing synchronous and asynchronous stuff together really easy. I mean, like, generally, I think you don't need that much ease. You know, it's an unusual kind of use case, but I sort of like to have something where you could do something crazy that I never thought of, I guess, you know. Yeah, that's what I know. Other core features, I guess when you have a component-based thing, you want to sort of keep track of maybe what does what. Like if you're saying, oh, do you want to use Jasmine? Do you want to use Mocha? Do you want to use Jest? It helps to have a type system that kind of get a sort of hack together type system of sort. So yeah, maybe you could get by. A lot of people get by just putting in whatever, but sometimes it's nice to check that, or you can look through your globally installed packages and find something that matches and present that as an option to the end user, like which you want to use. So yeah, that's also a fairly core part of it, but then again, it's another component that someone could rewrite and do differently if they like it. So I mean, basically, like Yeoman is like CLI tool, which is very thin wrap around the liftoff thing, which is like basically gulp, finds a gulp file, kaiju file, runs it, and then components, I guess. And I've sort of tried to write the most sort of useful small things that people could build, and then moving on to like bigger things, because obviously no one end users will want to be able to generate projects and stuff in the end. Dependencies, RxJS, again, I think it's going to turn off a lot of people. Mutable JS, which, I mean, it might turn off people, but I think it's really great. Alright, cool. Yeah, Lodash, Flowtype, probably get rid of that. There's no opinions about, you can use any templating engine, any prompts, any library for the file system. Was going to do a brief demo at a time. Failures, yeah, you can't always predict what someone's going to do, and you can't always nail it, but I don't think that's an important thing for a code generator. Like, you just want to save, you know, get something mostly right, and they can figure out the rest. Yeah, because we're developers. It's good at the sort of, you know, boilerplate configuration, sort of things you expect. It's bad at the business logic for obvious reasons. Doesn't do curation or anything, because that wasn't the goal. I guess the Cloverfield project, that was more of that's more of a thing that they are looking at. So I'd advise you to look in that direction for stuff like that. Yeah, and you're not stuck with just boilerplate, but yeah, it becomes a little harder. But then code reuse makes that easier, in my opinion. Compared to Yeoman, okay.
I really want to let you keep going, but
yeah.
we have one more talk between.
I think the point is that Hal's done a lot of work here, and he's put a lot of thought into it. And if you are experiencing the pain in sort of this kind of tooling area, you should be having a chat to him, because I think he's probably got some thoughts on the matter. Now, from what I can tell, Hal tends to bunker down in the back right corner. So go and have a chat to him.